In regards to the immigration position, how do we determine if someone's here illegally 25 years as opposed to 15, 10, 30, or 40 years?
Well, that's why you have to have citizen panels to review it. I think it gets to be a matter of judgment. Is somebody really a part of the fabric of the community, or are they not? If they're not, they clearly should go home.
Some of the folks I talked to tonight wanted to hear what your thoughts on it. Did you think you got your point across tonight to the people here?
Well, I thought when they applauded at the end when I asked them to make sure if anybody goes around saying I'm for amnesty, that they can say they saw me and that's just not true. I thought that was a pretty encouraging sign that we'd gotten the message out we wanted to.
But do you expect any fallout from supporters?
No. I expect that there will be a brief flurry because several of my friends were explicitly distorting what I said. Even though they knew better. Well, I'll let you go look at the record. So I think it takes a few days to clarify that, in fact, what they were saying isn't true. And when people relax and realize what I did say, I've been saying this for 3 months. Ironically, in the Reagan library debate, I think most of them actually agreed with me, if you go back and look at the transcript. So it was kind of funny the other night that I think when you get to be the front runner, people who ignored you or didn't think about it suddenly get very anxiety-ridden and look for what they think is a clever way to pick a fight.
What do you think is the difference between what happened to Perry and his immigration comment versus your stance on the issue?
Well, first of all, they're totally different comments.
Well, I know, but I mean in terms of the fallout from it.
No, yeah, but start with, they're totally different comments.
All right, guys.
Okay, let me just say, I believe 90% plus of the American people are prepared to have a serious conversation about how we solve this and don't just demagogue it. And I think when you start with controlling the border and you convince them that you'll do it sequentially, so it's not going to be a comprehensive bill so that they don't have to trust the government, because they're not going to trust the government. I think people go, well, you know, this is a reasonable, logical series of steps that would get us to being a legal country. And I think it's very important for our health as a country that we get to a point where everybody in the country is here legally and nobody's here illegally. I think it's very important for our future. My position on immigration is very important. And I think to some extent the way it was handled in the debate the other night, because we didn't go through the whole conversation. We got choppy, and some of my friends decided they would articulate alternative versions of what I said, which actually weren't what I said. But that's partially the nature of politics, unfortunately. I have a very clear position, which is in writing at Nude.org. In our 21st century contract with America, one of the key items is to complete control of the border by January 1 of 2014. And the model I would use is the Second World War. In World War II, we cut through the red tape, and in 3 years and 8 months, we defeated fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, and Imperial Japan. And think about that. December 7th, 1941, August 1945, we fight a global war and defeat 3 major countries. Recently, it took 23 years to add a 5th runway to the Atlanta airport. This is just self-inflicted stupidity. So one of the bills we're drafting that will be done before September 27th, so you'll see the actual legislative language, is basically going to waive all federal regulations. It's going to recreate the world of World War II. And it's going to say, for the purpose of having control of the border by January 1, 2014, we're not going to worry about environmental impact statements. We're not going to worry about all the various federal rules and all the various, complexities of contracting, et cetera. We're going to say, we're going to grant power, exactly what we did in World War II to build the Pentagon in 18 months, exactly the way we ran the Manhattan Project, exactly the way we ran the Apollo Project to go to the moon. And we're going to say, we have a person in charge. Their job is to get it done. If they can't get it done, we're going to fire them and replace them with somebody new whose job is to get it done. And we're going to aggressively pursue getting it done. I just want to knock down 2 things that were said by some of my friends. I have not suggested amnesty for 11 million people. And if you just listened the other night, you would have understood. But I was explicitly not suggesting amnesty for 11 million people. And I know politics is a rough and tumble game. We can't have an honest, serious discussion about real solutions if they're going to be so totally distorted that people, in fact, become afraid to even talk about this. And so I'm prepared to take the heat. I said the other night, I'm glad to take the heat But I want to take heat for what I actually said. Now one of my friends decided they would distort. So let me just be quite clear. You can tell anybody you know in the country, I am not for amnesty for 11 million people. I'm actually not for amnesty for anyone. I am not for a path to citizenship for any of the people who got here illegally. But I am for a path to legality for those people whose ties are so deeply into America that it would truly be tragic to try to rip their family apart. And so they couldn't become a citizen unless they went back home and applied for back home, wherever that is, and became part of the normal process. So you've controlled the border, you've created English as official language, you have people learning American history, you have a legal visa program that works better, you have a deportation program that works much faster and easier, you also have a guest worker program. I do think we ought to have an honest conversation about what are we going to do with the people who are already here. And the point I tried to make the other night was, I think for the vast majority of them, they should go home. And we should be very clear about this. If you're here without any great ties to the United States, and you came here illegally, you just need to leave and apply for the guest worker program from back home, period. I know there has some controversy attached to it, but I think it's ought to be discussed. I do think we have somebody in your neighborhood who's been here 25 years, and they belong to your church, and they have 3 kids and 2 grandkids, and they've been paying taxes and working hard that entire time. It's going to be very, very hard to get the American people to agree that we're going to tear up those families and expel them. And I just think that so I propose that we take the World War II model of a selective service program. In World War II, local community citizens judged who ought to be drafted and who shouldn't. And they were able to make discrimination based on, is it the only child left at home on a farm? Is there a situation where 3 of the kids have already signed up for the military? But, and they really tried to take general policy and give it a human face, which requires trusting citizens rather than bureaucrats. And in fact, it's a jury system for local communities. And exactly what the break lines are, I'm not sure. I picked 25 years and family and total legality. So somebody who you had no reason to suspect this. Otherwise, what happens is, I do believe we're going to need a guest worker program, and I would outsource the guest worker program to American Express, Visa, or MasterCard. Once you get involved with an effective guest worker program, and I think it should be as easy as all of you who swipe a card in order to pay for your gasoline at the gas station. There will be no excuse for an employer hiring somebody illegally. Remember, you get no illegal workers without illegal employers.